Now, what does a typical automobile and motorcycle accident case involve? We've talked about this some around different topics tonight, but a typical automobile accident case is who's at fault, what are the damages, and was the fault the cause of those damages? But there is a concept in Florida that's very important. It's called comparative fault. And comparative fault works like this. If two people collide and they're both 50% at fault, just say whatever it was, they were 50% at fault. The jury says, okay, they each have 50% at fault. Then each side can recover 50% of their damages from the insurance companies involved. So let's say that this driver right here, 50% at fault, has a $100,000 claim for damages. He would recover $50,000. This driver, or pedestrian, or not pedestrian, or passenger, if they were 50% at fault, but they had a $20,000 claim, they would recover $10,000. It's called comparative fault. So just because you have some fault in an accident doesn't mean you cannot recover. Comparative fault is pure in Florida. For example, in Florida, comparative fault can be 80% the fault of the person who got injured. They can recover 20% of their damages. It is different in Georgia, for example. In Georgia, the rule is that you can't be over 50% at fault and make a recovery. That's the Georgia rule. It's different. Alabama has still a different kind of rule. But the basic principle here is in establishing fault, then you have to show causation, then you have to show damages. And in Florida, fault can be partially or completely the responsibility of the adverse party or the party that was involved in the accident. When we analyze a case, we'll talk to the client and explain to them if we see they had some fault. For example, in Florida, you have to wear a seatbelt, or it's considered a fault, a contribution to fault of the person that's injured, although it's kind of a strange connection because the seatbelt didn't cause the accident. They still consider it part of the fault of the person that's injured. In Georgia, for example, there is no requirement to wear a seatbelt, and the juries are not told in Georgia that there's any seatbelt defense. And it's different in each state, and so we have to analyze the facts and circumstances of the accident in each state.